Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Wendy, and this is your money message for today. And today, what we're going to be talking about is what do you do with those clients that you either don't want to see, like they're just not the folks you want to work with, or they're the folks that you can't or shouldn't work with for one reason or another. How do you handle those? Well, I'll tell you, this is important to figure out. When I first started my practice back in the day, the truth is I would work with anything that walked. I'm telling you, if you called and asked about my services, I said yes. It didn't matter if I knew a thing about whatever it was you needed help with. It didn't matter if you were somebody that I felt like I could like or enjoy talking to, like wanted to be locked in a room for an hour with at a time. It didn't even really matter if you could pay me. I would figure that out later because I didn't care about that back then. So I saw all kinds of folks, and there were some folks that I saw that I really got into it and kind of regretted. And there were folks that I saw that I know I didn't help much because I wasn't the best fit for them. So I wanted to give you 3 tips for how to handle it when there's a client that you may not be the best fit for. The first thing is I want you to get really clear about what your strengths are. What are the areas of expertise that are in your wheelhouse? What is it that you're good at? And if you're brand new in your field or you're a new practitioner, you may not feel like you're very good at anything. Well, that's okay. That kind of comes with it in the very beginning when you're just getting started. I trust that as a clinician or as a healthcare provider of some sort or as a healing arts practitioner, that you have the right kind of supervision or training or mentors on your team who are backing you up and guiding you along the way. We all start somewhere, so that's okay. But even from that point of view, there are going to be some things that you're studying, you're comfortable with, you're kind of ready to work with, and there are some things you're not. For me, for a long, long time, I used to say that it was easier to say what I didn't do than what I did. For example, I never worked with eating disorders. So it was important for me to know up front if that might be something someone was calling about, because if so, I needed to tell them, you need to know this is not my area of specialty. There were times when I agreed to see somebody because there was something else that was a more prominent feature, and this was a little bit more of a secondary feature. And even then, I would say, okay, we will try it. But if I get to feeling like this is really what you need help with, I'm going to refer you. Okay, so even that was okay. But knowing what your strengths are, your skill set, who you are best suited to serve is really important. That's step 1. The second thing I want you to do is figure out who your ideal client really is. In business language, you will hear the term ICA. That means ideal client avatar. That's a phrase you'll use. There will be times when I'll be talking to you at length about how to figure out what this means. But for now, let's just say, who do you love? Who is a delight to work with? What kinds of folks or kinds of situations do you feel like it's an honor and a privilege to be in the same room with these people? Who are the ones that when they're on your calendar for the day, you're like, yay, I get to see these kind of folks today? Versus, oh no, I'm seeing these folks today. That's kind of a clue. And that leads me to my third tip, which is I also want you to figure out who your non-ideal client is. Who are the folks that you just don't want to work with them? And y'all, I'm not talking about being discriminatory here. I want you to be careful because there are ethical codes that all of us as professionals agree to follow. So that's an important and a delicate balance to strike. But for example, if you know that narcissistic personalities or borderlines are really hard or need just so much that you just don't feel like you can't do that, then don't. If you know that you love working with preschoolers, but you're not so crazy about teenagers, that's fine. It's your practice, so you should enjoy it. So what kind of folks do you love working with, and what kind of folks do you kind of dread working with? All right? Figuring that out is also part of this process. So once that is all done, Then what do? Here's what you do. So I know what I'm good at. I know who my ideal client is I really want to see. And I know who my non-ideal client is that I really just, I'd rather say no to. Once you know those things, so what do you do when you get an inquiry? Well, once you have worked through whatever your process is for that initial phone call or email, and you figured this stuff out, here's what you do. You still focus on service. You still find a way to serve them. And the way I like to do that is I try to give those people at least 3 names or resources that they can turn to instead. And what I say to people is, I would be happy to work with you, but my sense is that I'm not really going to be a good fit for you. And it's important for me to make sure that you get what you need, whether that means working with me or not. So I don't want to take your money or take up your time when I'm pretty confident on the front end that what I have to offer isn't really what you need. So let me instead give you some other ideas. Would that be helpful? And they will say, yeah, that'd be great. And then I will give them other therapists' names, energy healers' names, yoga teachers' names, doctors, attorneys, websites, free resources that I know of, whatever I can come up with that might be helpful to them. Now, I don't go overboard, but I try to give them at least 2 or 3 so that they have some choices. And I will say, if these don't work, there's a good chance that these folks may know of other ideas that I haven't thought of. But these are people I trust. These are people I've heard good things about, or I personally have had good experiences with. These are resources that I have found helpful. This might help you as well. And what you will find is that people never forget that. I have gotten more business from just that act of service than probably anything else I've ever done. And I'll tell you, today, at this point in my life, my counseling practice is small these days because most of my focus is on coaching. But I am not the highest, but probably the second highest priced provider in my region that I know of. I have all the business that I want, and I turn away more than I take. And I am almost 100% self-pay. I do take one insurance plan, but I literally have 2 clients on that, and I do not advertise that. So most of my clients are self-pay, and I have all the business I want. So getting clear, the way I'm suggesting to you here, will serve your clients as well as you. This is how you create an ideal practice that takes care of you as well as it takes care of your clients, which is what I'm all about. Okay? So do what I'm suggesting here. Know what your strengths are, your skill set. Know who your ideal client is. Know who your non-ideal client is. Then put together a referral list. Who are the therapists or energy healers or doctors or attorneys? Who do you refer to for those people that you know you can't serve, aren't best suited to serve, or just don't really want to serve? That's fine. Where would you send them? And then have that handy so the next time you get an inquiry that's where it goes, you're ready to help them. And you'll be astonished because you'll feel good getting off the phone, and so will they. Okay? All right, that's my 2 cents worth for today. I hope it's helpful for you. Let me know what questions you have about this because we're going to be talking about it over the coming days. And I look forward to hearing what you have to say and whether see what you do with this. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye now.